Pay attention guys, we have currently opened up a limited amount of spots for free one-on-one coaching with me and Adam for the people who now join the Mechanics of Poker program. So are you ready to improve your game? Go over to the site and sign up to the Mechanics of Poker program. Also make sure to join our Discord channel and sign up to our newsletter so you don't miss out on any new promotions. Hello. And welcome to the Wakko Show. I am keeping an eye out on my email because I wanted to start playing. And PokerStars told me that the 25th my account would be unblocked. I was away for a week, but apparently they sent me an email back and I still had to reply that I agreed with the terms of service. So now I resend them an email that, you know, me wants to start streaming, you guys want to see me playing. So I'm gonna keep on refreshing and see if we can start playing. And if not, we just continue the high stakes reel, which we left off last time in a game with these crushers, Linus, Dax, and Mr. Helmets. Highlight being the bluff I remember of Linus on table 2. This was the highlight of that reel, I remember. The big bluff. I saw someone commenting in YouTube, when I do that on 50NL, I'm being called a spewtart. And when Linus does it at 5100, he's suddenly a genius. This is indeed how it usually goes, right? But I think we discussed this. I don't think this is necessarily a genius move. We also have a special guest coming up in the next high stakes reel. Tried to already get it done this high stakes reel, but you know, when you deal with other players, you know, things might take a little bit more time, but I'm pretty sure we'll have a nice guest for the next high stakes reel. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, so far, no email of PokerStars, so we're just gonna have to do it with the high stakes reel again. Like what I like about these high stakes reels is then we can focus a little bit more on informative. You know, I have more time to answer questions. I have more time to explain what's kind of going on at the table. I would say that in most streams that we did in this format, the footage itself was kind of just something to keep us entertained. And I think the main value was just in the fact that you guys can interact with me directly and we can talk about certain topics. So let's just start, I think, where we left off. I don't remember this 4-bet pot. It was raise, 3-bet, 4-bet call. And now it's up to Linus. And Linus is going to start with a quarter c-bet. That's going to be most common, I would say. Somewhere around that region, 20-30%. Definitely not a board where you're going to go smaller. And also I don't think a board where you're going to go bigger. Maybe there's a small frequency, bigger bets. Pocket queens, first one coming in my mind. King, this is gonna be a very high barreling frequency for the in position and a very high folding frequency for the out position. So I expect Linus to almost double barrel range here for, again, a small sizing. And Helmets is a little bit handcuffed due to the ranges and due to this turn, and there's not much else he can do than overfold. This is a common misconception that people have this minimum defense frequency in their head. Yeah, but if he now bets, then he can just bet range. Well, due to the ranges, he is allowed to bet range, and basically you just have so many weekends. If you're gonna try to defend MDF formula, you're basically just handing his range money. Okay, I think in general, playing poker from a MDF perspective, I'm not a big fan of at all. Because also in poker, especially in non-heads up, so basically the heads up, maybe there's a couple things that are different, because in heads up you have to win money from your direct opponent. Whereas as soon as it becomes 300, 400, 500, 600, you don't necessarily have to make the most money from your direct opponent, right? So it's a little bit of a different philosophy. Yeah, 25%, yes, on the turn. I expect a 25% pot barrel for around range. Yeah, so here we have it. That's basically this is kind of, yeah, Helmut's is a little bit handcuffed. So usually if you also want to come up with bet sizings and also to improve your own game in terms of bet sizing, if someone uses a sizing that puts you in a tough spot, reflect like, hey, is this a good sizing against my range? Am I being put in a tough spot? Because usually if you put someone in a tough spot, yeah, he has a decision. So I usually, when good players put me in tough spots, I really try to analyze that situation. Okay, how did I get into that situation? How does this situation work? Why can he put so much pressure on me, even with a small sizing in this case, for example? And then I will try to add that to my game as well. And this is kind of the benefit of playing against better players, right? They keep on putting you in tough spots. Sometimes, you know, it's also just negative variance, so analyze the situation if this is something that you can learn from. As I wrote you on Instagram Q&A, okay. So now I'm gonna, but I have to say I'm liking for, okay, you're the one with the 3 questions. In your opinion, should I do GTO stuff post-flop and even pre-flop in some cases against these players? In my brief experience, I don't see them bluffing much, so should I play more with my gut? Yes. So GTO, okay, should only be used to build solid fundamentals and solid philosophies towards that you use towards approaching the game, right? But in my opinion, and even in GTO's opinion, if someone doesn't bluff the river, you should not be bluff catching. Yeah, it's quite simple. This is just in general good poker. In good poker is you try to figure out what your opponent has, and if he has a better hand than you, more often compared to the pot odds that you're getting, right, you shouldn't call. So in the end, yeah, you have to try to figure out what he has. And this is something that GTO players forget. They're very consumed about how to play their own range that they even forget to think about what the fuck does my opponent actually have. Okay? And this is, then you're down, you had a sort of crossing, my range or his range, and he went into the my range crossing. And then it went all the way down the rabbit hole, where they should have tried to figure out what your opponent has. Okay? This is a very big mindset difference between players who grew up in Solverland and players like me who started playing before Solverland. There was a switch in philosophy. And yeah, your gut, okay, your gut is basically unconscious information that is not yet trained enough for you to access consciously, right? So when your gut tries to tell you something, you should always reflect, what's my gut trying to tell me? And your gut is just based on a lot of information. So let's say, for example, you've received a bet, and you've called down 10 times, and every time you were wrong. The 11th time your gut is like, hey, Rene. Oh, hold on a second. I think this calling bets, we've lost quite a lot of money. So your gut has a point there, right? But now the problem is poker. In poker, you can call correctly, rationally 10 times, but your gut doesn't see it that way. Your gut just like, hey dude, what the fuck are you doing? Your gut and your brain in general, you are not made to play poker, okay? They don't, your gut doesn't understand, yeah, but I had to be right 25% of the time. Your gut is gonna try to keep you safe, and it's like, hey, listen man, you're burning away money, stop doing that. Okay, so yes, your gut has a place, but you should always be very aware of biases that can enter in your gut decision-making process, right? But yeah, you have to start to understand what is your gut telling you, and this is why, for example, self-awareness is very important as a poker player. You have to understand what your gut is telling you and then kind of filter out, okay, is this just a bias or is this truly my gut giving me good information that I should maybe look into if this spot is indeed underbluffed or overbluffed? Do you need some help playing 3-bet pots out of position? Well, for that we have created our masterclasses, in which we dedicate one coaching program to dive very deep into a specific spot. Go over to the site pokerambition.com/masterclasses and eliminate those weaknesses. There are ways to analyze. For example, I'm a very big fan of, because in the end, especially also as a student, if you can keep staying consistent in everything that you do, you will be fine if you're doing decent things, right? Usually what throws people off from their consistency is their influence of results. So good run, bad run. So I think it's very important to always analyze your data to see if you rank good or rank bad. And then, for example, yeah, you can also see, oh, you're crushing at high stakes. People usually, as they say in Holland, go walking next to their shoes, which means that they get a little bit too cocky because their confidence goes up with their results. Okay, so if they're then in an upswing, they think they're the best, and then they're gonna make minus EV decisions in terms of game selection, for example. Whereas if you saw like, hey, I run quite good, okay, the result of this little upswing is that I run good, you can kind of calibrate your confidence, like, okay, yeah, we played well and this is very nice, but you know, we're on a little bit of a good run, so let's just keep playing and see where this is gonna go. The problem is you don't want to do that. You want to believe that you are now the fucking king of poker. That's why you don't want to check your results if you're doing well. If you're doing bad, everyone wants to get the confirmation that they're in a downswing, right? But if they're doing well, they don't want the confirmation that they're in an upswing. They don't take any credit for the upswing, and they blame all the credit if they're in a downswing. Or at least, no, I said that wrong. They don't blame variance for an upswing, but they blame variance for a downswing. Coughs, Red Baron disagrees. Red Baron. What do you think about... Listen, with variance is also like, for example, let's say I play a three-handed game, okay? And I have quite a good idea how someone plays. And I have certain adjustments that I might make against that player. And I see those adjustments immediately working in game, okay? So I am actively trying to exploit my opponent, and I can clearly see that it's working. Then variance in my list already drops, right? If I have a couple of exploits, they're doing well, and I can see it's working, I can see him making the mistakes that I know he's going to make. Then I don't need a huge sample anymore because I see that it's working. What do you think about shot taking? I think the lower you play, and it also depends on your expensive, the compound effect of being able to grind higher is always huge, so take aggressive shots. How do you see if you run good or not, other than Poker Tracker? Yeah, that's what I meant. You have a tracking program, and then you have to run certain filters that indicate variance. So yes, you have ONEV, but ONEV doesn't really say much. So come up, I'm gonna let the real come up. What could you come up with right now that you could filter on a monthly basis to have a better estimate of the impact of variance on your game? So here actually we have a bet flop, 3/4 turn. And then we're gonna see a river bet, I would say. All in! Okay! Dixie! He's going for it. I made a video about triple barreling. There are some concepts returning. And I'm gonna check who paid attention. Why? What is the main driver behind the all-in sizing in this spot? So it was raise, call, button versus big blind, check call 1/3 if I'm not mistaken, check call 3/4, and now check jam. Chicken video is the best. 10-9. 10-9 is the driver behind having an all-in. He doesn't have any straights other than like one combo, because you're supposed to call and lose most of the time. Yeah, no, so bluff catching and in general your bluffing frequencies and bluff catching frequencies, again, they don't really remain consistent, because I'm aware of it, and if I bluff catch someone or bluff catch a spot 10 times in a row, the 11th time there is a voice in me that's like, yeah, I'm just tired of calling and losing. And then you might make a fold that you normally wouldn't make. And this is the human factor of playing poker, right? It's very hard to remain consistent. And we will go like this. So if we're here and the goal is to go here, we will go like this. I'm trying to look at my camera if this makes sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Not in a straight line, that's impossible. But if you go like this and someone else goes like this, you have an edge, right? Yeah, so he's quite capped, and indeed the 9-10 is a hand that I would say always plays this way if you are DAX, and never plays this way if you're Linus. So we have another advantage, and therefore we can start jamming. And now basically hands that that Linus is probably going to call you with is a hand like ace-9. Because let's say, for example, Dex does have aces. Dex can just still jam aces, okay? Because aces is also the nuts, because Linus doesn't have a straight, all right? Then if you're bluffing here, if you're Dex, you probably still want to have a 9 or a 10, even though Linus doesn't have a 9 or a 10. This is everything to do with blocking the calling range, because Linus, like I said, most likely calling range is ace-9, because ace-9 blocks aces and blocks 9-10. Then you can go from the other side again. Yeah, well, if you're Linus, then should you call with a 9? And this is, so someone asked in the Instagram, what's more important, blockers to value or blockers to bluffs? This is why in GTO, especially on River, you will see a lot of frequency calls, because often they kind of go both ways. Because if Dex is bluffing with a 9x or a 10x, but his value is also 9-10, then if you have a 9 or a 10, you're blocking value, but you're also blocking bluffs. And then it comes back to what someone said all the way in the beginning. The main goal is to figure out if someone is over bluffing or under bluffing. That's way more important than having a 9 or a 10. But the 9 or a 10 definitely does help, I would say. And Linus folds, which is going to do most of the time. But yeah, why all in? Why not just 4K? Also, this comes a bit more into practical poker. If you think your opponent is going to overfold to the all in and you have a straight, then by all means bet 4K. What happened here? No way! Yes! Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We have a little donkey. Linus is watching the stream, guys. Linus is watching the stream. Linus is watching the stream. Calls. Queen eye board. I love it, man. Donkey. Do you think Linus is now thinking, I saw the Wakko stream playing yesterday. He dunked this board. I like it. I'll try a little donkey as well. Pretty sure that's his reasoning. Oh, God, I love it, guys.
You fucking donk! You do it again. I remember in a video before I've told you to not donk. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? So dumb.
But let's see what develops. Helmut's not giving fucks. Helmut's just raising. We actually get a call now from Linus. So Linus has defined his hand as investment worthy. And we see a nice little pot here from Helmut's, which I think here is a fine play. So he raised the donkey. Linus is gonna show what is set here. Call. Interesting. 4. 9. No, the 4 shouldn't change anything. Linus never has a 4. Helmut has the straights. Possibly has the straights. I think it's very unlikely that he actually would raise something like that. Maybe he raises King 4 of hearts or something and then bets the turn. That's an option. Yeah, this was just very likely a queen versus an overpair. He didn't bet the river. That's a little bit of a nitty check, right? Helmut goes for a check raise. He has the 3s and 4s advantage. And 7 dues just for you. Just subscribe. Thank you very much. Probably because of the sexy shirt. So this is how we do it, guys. We sell ourselves to gain subscribers. No problem with that. It's very ethical. Definitely within my values. Linus is very short on timing, but he did manage to find a little 3-bet. Putting some extra pressure. What would he 3-bet with? Gonna be quite awkward with this stack size. If you're a little bit shorter, you could maybe 4-bet stack like some ace kings. But now it's a bit tricky. Maybe like a hand like king queen or something, blocking like some king jack, queen jack. Value is always easy to find, eh, guys? Queens, kings, aces. Or these aces without the heart. Call. Okay, interesting. Ace turn. Should not really hit Linus all that often, I would say. I don't mind Helmut throwing out a little leady here. Let's see. Helmut's a creative player, huh? Okay, he goes for a check. Interesting. Linus. What are you gonna do with your Linus? Small bet, I guess. No, yeah, he's just gonna continue small betting. I like this play. I think it's fine. Funky hand. Like, these are the spots, right? Yeah, nobody has watched the GTO 3 in this situation. So this is just, you know, you have to try to figure out what your opponent is up to. Let's see what Helmut thinks. I mean, 1k, I don't think... So there's quite an easy reason why 1k is usually not used in this position, I think. Because basically if you bet that small, in general in position, except for like some 4-bet pots, which maybe you could say range construction is similar. But the problem with 1k is that it has to then outperform a check. And with 1k you open the betting action. So I don't think that actually happens. We actually get a fold from Mr. Helmets. Interesting. Maybe he had like 6s with a heart. Or like Queen Jack or something. He probably didn't have a draw. 1/3 here for Linus. Very high frequency. This turn I expect some checks. Yeah, a little bit deeper. Maybe a block. It's definitely also an option. He goes for pot. This was the option that I would least take. So quite interesting. Why would you pot? Not a big fan of pot. Trying to figure out with which hands I could do this with. Ace-3. With this SPR now on the river. Probably going to be checking. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not a pot fan on the turn. I don't really know what the pot is all about. And he bets, he folds. I don't really like the pot on the turn. Don't really know what this is all about. Perhaps he wants to just ship it and go to bed. They like to see Mr. Howard.
It's time to ship it in and go to bed.
No, that was definitely not a ship it and go to bed spot. Little check raise here from Linus on the pair board. Linus loves to do this. The small check raises on the pair boards. Gets a call. Let's see if he follows that up with a little betty. This turn is a bit dicey, I would say. To bet small, I would go for check big, personally. If it was an 8, I wouldn't mind betting small. Okay, he does go for the small bet, pushing it. And now we just bet small again then in that case. Linus can do something completely different. We have an okay read on Helmut so far, but on Linus, it's hard to have a good read on Linus. I guess a mix on the river. So yeah. If I just say it's a mix on the river, then anything can happen. I'm never wrong. Is OTB in the Bahamas with 10 wives? Confirm? No. Wait, what happened? So he did go for the check. Did he check back Queen Deuce? Did I say that correctly? Queen Deuce! Oh my god. Now, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Take a look at other videos that we've made. I'm sure you will like them as well. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And make sure to join our Discord community so you can stay up to date with new content, new promotions that we have running here at Poker Ambition. And if you want to know more about Poker Ambition and our services, go over to the site pokerambition.com. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.